Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. This is the NDC Heartbeat program, the voice of the people in every true sense of the word. And if you have no voice, you have no power. And knowledge is power. And so this is where you can tune in every Sunday, God's will, at 12 noon to be empowered. This is the NDC Heartbeat program, the voice of the people, and I am your host, Jenny Simon. Let us go straight into the devotion. Let us turn to the Lord in prayer, asking Him for guidance and protection, for long life, good health and strength, for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Let us thank God for the many blessings He has bestowed upon us over the past week and for His mercies, and ask of Him many more going forward. We'll take a quick break and come right back.
Dear Father, as I'm on my knees, I pray for the dwellings of this earth. And also my head. Praying time, days over now, it's praying time. My wife and my kids and my friends and my neighbors, they all are feeling.
Welcome back, listeners. This is the NDC Heartbeat program, and I am your host, Jenny Simon. Let's take the announcement first. Today we have another packed program. As a matter of fact, I think I need 3 days instead of 1 hour, but I'll do my best to give you the information on the issues as they face us today. The St. George Northwest invite you to their barbecue on Friday the 26th, starting at 4 p.m. They'll be doing barbecue chicken and pork by the Grand Mall playing field. So go patronize and socialize with the St. George Northwest constituency, the NDC St. George Northwest constituency. The Committee to Save Camerhon Park invites you to a prayer vigil and candlelight Saturday, February the 27th, 2016, beginning at 6:30 p.m. at Camerhon Park, Grand and St. George's. Walk with a candle and join us in prayer, songs, poetry, and much more. Show your solidarity and let's say no to the sale of Camerhon Park. So friends, go down and support the committee for to save Camerhon Park on February the 27th, that is Saturday, February the 27th, at 4, is that what it said earlier on there? And walk with your candle, right? Join them and let us protect our heritage. International Women's Day. That is the 8th of March, and you know the NDC Women's this is our 3rd annual celebration. It's getting bigger and better every year down at the Trade Center Annex. And so the 8th of March is falling in the midweek, and we are going to celebrate on Saturday, the 12th of March, at the Trade Center Annex at 5 p.m. The usual, wear your ethnic wear if you would like to, if you're Indian, African, Grenadian, whatever you feel you can wear ethnic wear, or you can come dressed casually, elegantly casual, I think it's the term used. But come and enjoy with us and celebrate with the women of Grenada. It's open to the public as usual. We have keynote speakers, we have cultural activities, and a little socializing after. Join us on there on Saturday the 12th. Don't forget. Heart and Soul this Wednesday, and we had postponed the last week's because of the mission and the respect for the faith of persons attending the mission throughout the island. We postponed last Wednesday's Heart and Soul that was supposed to be at the Birch Grove Community Center. Venue is same, time is same, only it's this Wednesday coming. The Heart and Soul will be at the same Birch Grove Community Center at 7 p.m. On Sunday the 28th, the People's Parliament in Telescope instead of the Grenville Car Park. Please note, the People's Parliament on request of the people from St. Andrew, will move to Telescope instead of the car park. And that would be at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, the 28th of February, 5:30 in the afternoon in Telescope. That would be an interesting one. Lots of speakers and lots of issues to deal with. Come and hear what's really taking place in Grenada. I will use this opportunity to congratulate the bottling company in Tempe. I won't say that it's in order, and at the moment, I will not share with you my reasons for congratulating them. Just keep listening to Heartbeat, to other programs, and be vigilant. But I would say congratulations to the bottling company in Tempe. Folks, no clue, no care. There is an urgency, a mad rush to sell out the rest, or give away, I should say, the rest of what was left of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique from the first rounds. This time around, great urgency, if I may say so myself, to sell out what was left. We know of the sale of places like Manhattan, US $20 million, and the gentleman, Mr. E.J. Miller, who the government of Grenada at the time, the NNP government, stood a guarantee for, and Mr. E.J. Miller drew down on all of the money and left the country. When the government at the time, the NNP, tried to take back the property, Mr. Miller turned around and sued the government and won that lawsuit. However, in the clause, and luckily, they had something that stated that after a certain amount of years, if nothing was done to the property, the government of Grenada could reclaim that property. And so in coming into office in 2008, the NDC reclaimed the Mount Hartman property. And today, I'll read to you something that was sent to me, actually only this morning, sent to me by an English citizen, believe it or not. It was sent to me by an English citizen, born citizen, if I may say so. And it's an article from the Caribbean Journal. And it reads, a new $2 billion Caribbean resort project. Some of us would have heard about it briefly in a newscast one day when the Minister of Foreign Affairs came back from China, but I know most of you would not have. And it says here, it was officially launched in China, a Grenadian project for one of our properties. The project was launched in China. The project plans to develop Mount Hartman Peninsula and Hog Island in Grenada. It would include high-end resorts, a wellness center, and another recreational and other recreational and entertainment features. According to a statement from the Grenada government, it is being developed by a Chinese company called United Demi Group, spearheaded by Grenada's company. For choosing Grenada, you have chosen to come to an island gem in the Caribbean, dilapidated, non-existent projects, hotels that was functioning at some point, all owned by local people, Grenadians. And I think sometimes we don't really like to see or hear about Grenadans owning stuff like that. It has to be a foreign investor for us to feel good. And these people had lost $8.9 million US. The Garden Group Hotel Limited was a company already formed and registered. It had a phone number in the book. The NMP government guaranteed a loan of $8.9 million US for that project. Encouraged it among the locals, all 5 of them. It was the No Problem by Mr. Ventu, the Cedars Inn by the Landers, Mr. St. Paul, I think it's Siesta. They had Mrs. Dayton, and Mr. What's the name of the gentleman up behind the food fair? Right now, his name slipped me. However, these 5 Grenadians and their property gone to ruins. The money apparently was reinvested, and all of it was lost. I think Mr. Diali, the senator in the senator representing the business, and he's back in the Senate right now again, was the chairman of the board and probably the person most that can give us the information on that 8.9 million. The question was being asked several times in the Senate, especially by the senator representing agriculture, the farmers, Senator Clouden, about it and what happened. And Mr. Diali sits and says nothing. Sister Brenda Hood is back in the Senate, and she was the minister responsible at the time. So we would like them to get together and put together a statement and tell the people what happened to the Garden Group money, 8.9 million. Some of these people, they have aged, for putting it mildly, who ill, and to date has nothing to show and to leave for their children and grandchildren. And so we are here now acquiring other properties and giving away or selling, but even when it's sold, it's as good as a giveaway, at least to the state. And we're here and just looking at other properties as they slip out of our hands. And we also know of, the investment with the call center. I've played for you before the parliament, the clip coming from the parliament where our prime minister promised that he would get his family to pay back 30 million EC dollars borrowed from the state for that purpose. So we have all those, and we have more. We have now the Grand Beach Resort, and we know of the signing over to a company called Timebucks Holding, owned by Mr. Lewis Hamilton, and 20 acres of prime land on Grandlands Beach, and that was given to him on the 7th of July, the night of the 7th of July, 2008, when people were getting ready to go vote in a matter of hours, and that government in question should have been out of office really, because election was a few hours away. The then Governor General, Mr. Sir Daniel Williams, and the Prime Minister then, Dr. Mitchell, signed over 20 acres of prime property, the lands where the then Grand Beach sit, the now Radisson sits, to freehold, mean no money passed to the state, to Mr. Lewis Hamilton. There were issues with the owner of the hotel, Mr. Issa Nicholas, and Mr. Hamilton. The deal fell through. And so the NDC government coming into office decided, reclaimed the property. Legally so, as we thought. However, the bureaucrats in the ministry responsible apparently had a little slip up and didn't place the notice on the land as should have happened. And so when the NNP came back in office, instead of going to court and remedy it, as they did for the property in St. Patrick, and I'll come to that in a minute, they gave back the lands to Timber Holdings. Mr. Lewis Hamilton, one of the richest sportsmen, if not the richest sportsman in the world. And he's now collecting $250,000 annually rent from Mr. Issa Nicholas, the owner of the Radisson. The owner of the Radisson. Folks, are we listening? He is collecting the rent for that property right now. As I mentioned, the property in St. Patrick belonging to the Gales, they both were acquired. That property during the NDC time was going to be acquired for public purposes. Yes, when you so says the law, so says the Constitution. It should be acquired for public purposes, and a field, and so it's going to put there for a park for the people in that area. It was done haphazardly then by the Minister of Communication and Works, Mr. Joseph Gilbert. He and his friends were cooking up and did it without even, I don't think that the knowledge, I might be wrong here, of the then Prime Minister Tilman Thomas. However, when he got wind of it, he stopped the whole accusation process, did it properly, did not move in on the lady's land because she was not paid for it. As another stipulation by the law, you're supposed to pay immediately when you acquire. However, in the coming back of the NNP, the same thing happened where the notice was not placed on the property. And so the government of Grenada, now, they went to court to take back, to reclaim the land from Mrs. D. Gale. So you had a situation where you have one in the same, the Grand Beach property and the D. Gale's property. The government went to court. They gave back Lewis Hamilton his, and they took Mrs. D. Gale's. They moved on the property even before she got payment and bulldozed, damaged her car. Some of you might know when she tried to stop them. Some of you might remember the story. They bulldozed soil, damaged her vehicle, and the story goes on. So we have the Grand Beach. We now have Camahon Park. We have the Postal Corporation. We have the Gravel and Concrete. We have Rex Grenada Limited. And you know, this one is an interesting one. And last week, I spoke to you of the Rex Grenadian. And I read to you from the Gazette of what was taking place, the acquiring of the property, and thereafter on Monday the 15th, one of the news broadcasts brought it in the evening news, reading from the same section in the Gazette that I read to you on Sunday. And it says clearly, it said clearly, I don't want to waste the little time we have going back and read it to you, but if I have the time later, I will. It said clearly that is in the matter of the Land Acquisition Act of 159 of the Constitution's revised edition, the laws of Grenada 2010, and it said in the matter of declaration by Governor General that certain interest in property situate at Point Salines in the parish of St. George in the state of Grenada, which is in the possession of the company mentioned in the schedule below, to be acquired for public purposes. And, you know, it went on to talk about, to explain the whole thing. And that was the first reading. Okay, so now it's time for the government to play catch up. and you know, have the cart leading the horse, of course. And the whole Rex thing was brought out at their post-cabinet briefing on Tuesday. So on Sunday, I spoke of it. On Monday, it was in the news. On Tuesday, the government, in their post-cabinet briefing, spoke, Mr. Steele, in his post-cabinet briefing, spoke on it, and this is what he had to say.
Let me start by making a brief statement with respect to some concerns or questions that were raised with the Rex Resort or the property in particular. Simply to say that there are current discussions going on between government and the party involved. The desire of this administration is for an amicable solution that is in the best interest of the people of Grenada. But that discussion has started, so I prefer not to comment any further, just simply to say that yes, it is correct that we are in discussions with the party and that our desire is to have an amicable solution in the best interest of the people.
That was Mr. Steele there. It's always, you know, we're not really taking it. We're taking it. It's the same thing. We are confused about the Cameron Park issue, and we're not going to talk about it now because it's in discussion. This is the same gentleman almost 3 years ago was in discussions with two investors that came ashore. And he couldn't say who they were because they were quiet ones and they didn't want their names called. But when everything was tied up in 2 weeks, he was going to tell us about the project. I think 2 weeks has not yet come, because to date we have heard nothing from Mr. Steele about these two quiet investors. Now, let's hear what he had to say when he was questioned by one of the media personnel there on the Rex situation.
But my question to you this time is wrong. It's based on what you would have said about the Rex Grenadian. Yesterday, someone said to me that their government is having just more than discussion. The government has actually acquired the property. Tell us some more. You did say that discussion is taking place. What is government plans with regard to the Rex Grenadian? Who is this discussion taking place? And is there any move to really acquire the property from the present owners?
Discussions are being had to find ways to make sure that that property serves the public at large as best as possible, the economy, the people of Grenada. I think it would be unfair and quite possibly irresponsible to discuss in the public those discussions while they're being had, out of respect for the individuals as well. Simply to say that, as I've said before, our intention is for an amicable solution right now. In our opinion, the property isn't serving the public as best as it can. If a solution can be found with any party there, then we will be happy, and we want an amicable solution to it. So that's the discussions that are being had right now. Government has many options, but we're not going to be taking any one of those particular options or hard and fast on any one particular option. We're in discussions with the current holders of the Rex.
The option, so is there any truth that the government has acquired it?
We're in discussions. I think there would have been information that would have been released in terms of a gazette announcement where government has that. That's the first. There's supposed to be two. It is the intention to catch the attention, to let individuals know that we are serious, the time is of the essence, and we want something done.
So government
that has brought them to the table. Discussions are being had, and government has many other cards that they can play in terms of a way forward. The fact of the matter is, by government expressing a serious intention, the individuals are at the table and discussions are being had.
So the government has gazetted a notice that is its plan on
That
acquiring
it has an intention, yes.
It's an intention
Correct.
to do so.
So it's a notice that is given. There are further stages to be taken that can be interrupted at any point in time, or we can continue. But it's the best way I can put it is that if you are a tenant and your landlord keeps asking you for the money, but you keep ignoring the landlord and you're ducking the landlord, and then the landlord suddenly sends an eviction notice and says, listen, if you don't pay by this date or come and talk to me by this date, I'm going to be exercising my right as a landlord. That's what we have done. The individual has come forward now and said, can we work this out? Can we talk? And we say, okay, let's talk. Let's see what can happen.
Just clear for me, does the Rex Grenadian owes government money through taxes or rent or lease?
That, again, that's personal information with the Rex Grenadian. If they do owe whatever is available as public information, I will share with you. That part that will complicate the discussions. I'll have to ask you to allow the discussions to continue. But this government, like for any other taxpayer, takes our taxes seriously. So if any party owes taxes, government will use all of its resources and all of its
Folks, welcome back. As you would realize, Mr. Steele has tied up himself in knots and is trying to tie us up in knots. Please don't get tied up. Mr. Steele started off by saying the hotel was not serving the nation as it should, the public as it should, and so they would acquire it. And that's one of the reasons government can acquire property. So Mr. Steele started off by saying that after the probing of the media personnel because of the gazetted publication, Mr. C gone all about it was, and it have a second. Yeah, we know it have a second one. I wonder if Mr. Steele know who was the Prime Minister of Grenada 25 years ago or 15 years ago. I wonder if he knew. I wonder if he knew who was the Minister of Health. I wonder. But now Mr. Steele coming and explaining to us that was just a notification in the Gazette, the first publication, and it have others to be a next publication. It's just a notice really to frighten the owner of the Rex in words, really. That is what he's saying indirectly. Huh? Come on. And then he ends up, after being probed, is a story, some kind of long story about landlord and tenant, and if you don't pay your rent, and then he end up with the government would be stringent with their taxes and whatever. And let me say good morning to the bottling company there, because they would retrieve their taxes however necessary. Ay, caramba. You know, folks, so that was the whole explanation there about the Rex, which we don't understand, which would further confuse us, or is trying to further confuse us, because it was exposed last Sunday, and so now they're playing catch-up, and what they should have done first, they're trying to do last, but it's already exposed because it's gazetted, and it says clearly that what is happening to that property, right? Moving right along. I have some breaking news again today. Last week, that was the breaking news, I have some breaking news. And you know what? I think it's time for me to say, breaking news, more fire. Some of you would remember that in the 2008 campaign. Breaking news, more fire. I have in front of me a list. Of course, it's about 17 pages long of full-length paper, and so I would bring you snippets of that list. And folks, it says here it's a list between the government and the people of Grenada. And it was done by the attorney, it's here signed by the Attorney General on behalf of the government of Grenada and the Vitreous Legal, that is attorney at law in Unit 12 at Steele's Commercial Complex, Grenada. And I think that is owned by the wife of Minister Steele. Some of you was wondering why he's so active in some of these projects. Well, And it says, is made, that is the lease, the first day of October 2013. So the first day of October 2013, between Her Excellency Dame Cecile Laguenard, GCMCOBE PhD. Woo, that's the alphabet. Governor General of Grenada, acting herein for and on behalf of the government of Grenada, hereafter called the landlord, and the one part, the Facera Grand Anse Limited, a limited liability company incorporated pursuant to the Companies Act, Chapter 58A, to the 2010 revised edition of the Laws of Grenada, with its registered office situated in Grand Anse in the parish of St. George's in the state of Grenada, hereafter called the tenant, which expression shall include its successor in title and assigns of the other part. Whereas the landlord has agreed with the tenant to grant to the tenant a lease of property hereby demised and more particularly described in Schedule 1 for the purpose of constructing a tourist resort of a minimum 4-star standard. If you realize 1-star drop-off, or 1-star, here it was mentioned as 4 stars, but in the post-cabinet briefing not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and by the Prime Minister himself after that, Minister Gawe stressed a 5-star hotel with 400 rooms being done by investor, the Egyptian billionaire, Nabib Sowais. Okay? So it says here a 4-star standard rating at the rental, and upon the terms and conditions contained herein. So I know it's a lot of hereby and aforesaid and whereas and all of that. This here is a lease between the government of Grenada, the government and Grenada, and a company called Facera Grand Anse Limited, of which Mr. Danny Fakri is director, and it is done by Virtuous Legal Attorney of Law in the commercial complex in Grand Anse. Right, so let me continue here. Let me read another little part for you. It says, interpretation of landlord. The expression, the landlord includes the person or persons from time to time entitled to the revision of the premises when the lease comes to an end. And it says interpretation of the tenant. The tenant includes any person who is for the time being bound by the tenant covenants of the lease. Moving right along. It then says here in section 124, the rent means the amounts payable by the tenant in accordance with clause number 2. Moving along, the term means 99 years commencing date. And of course, the commencing date was the 1st of October, 2013. So the lease was done up for 99 years. Now, even when I was down at Camahon Park on Independence Day, I was speaking to Mrs. Nayak, who owned that property, and she said to me, she wants to come on the program to tell the nation exactly what happened to her, what the government, what Dr. Mitchell and the government has done to her, but her there's an injunction. The whole thing is in court, and so what I understand an injunction to be, I cannot understand how now we have leased a property from the lady's property. She got no money for it, and it was leased for 99 years since October the 1st, 2013. You with me? Okay, that says here, demise and options. demise in consideration of the rent hereinafter reserved and of the covenants on the part of the tenant hereinafter contained, the landlord hereby demise the premises to the tenant, accepting and reserving to the landlord the rights specified in the Schedule 3 to hold the premises unto the tenant for the term yielding and paying to the landlord, all listening, rent as follows. For the first 10 years of the term commencing from the commencement date thereof, the annual rent of $20,000. Folks, 25 years ago, when the NDC leased the property where the Grand Beach, where the Radisson is sitting now, to the company, it was leased for the same $250,000 annually, 25 years ago. 25 years later, the Rivera property, as it says here, that was acquired by the government, is being leased out for $20,000 a year, making it less than, it's just around $1,600 or a little less, or a little more, per month. Folks, most small businesses in town pay more than $1,600 a month rent. People renting private, domestic, a little apartment is $1,800, $2,000 a month. And here we have, if it is, we're not sure who the property owned for, but the lease is between, as I said, this company where Mr. Danny Fakri is a director. We were told by the government, and we have to go with what we were told, that the investor is. So we seem to have a middleman here, but the investor is billionaire, Italian billionaire. Is Italian? Yeah, I think it's Italian. Is Italian? Whatever. Billionaire. He's a billionaire, right? And we're renting to him for $20,000 a year, just a little over $1,500 a month. How about that? How about that, folks? Moving along. It says here in section 4.2, grant of incentives and concessions. To grant to the tenant in respect of any hotel renovation or construction establishment or carried out on the premises of all the privileges and concession contained in the Hotels Aid Act, Chapter 138 of the 2010 revised edition of the Laws of Grenada as amended, to permit entry into Grenada as such suitable supervisory and technical personnel approved by the government as may be required by the tenant during the course of construction of the premises, and for this purpose to grant such personnel such enabling license, work permits, visas, and other formalities as may be required by law. Listen to this. To permit suitable executive personnel of the tenant, such as the manager of the resort and other key personnel approved by the government of the said resort, entry into Grenada throughout the term hereby created, and to grant such personnel such enabling license, work permits, visas, and other formalities as may be required by law. So, folks, sometimes I listen to some of the calling programs, and I hear people quarreling and saying, all the government doing is checking on hotels, and what we get as a people is the scraps. clean the rooms, empty the garbage, and that sort of thing. Well, I just read it for you. Schedule 2, the works, construction by the tenant of a resort of a minimum 4-star standard rating, subject to construction plans presented to the landlord by the tenant within 18 months of the commencement date for its consent. Now, so we're saying 18 months, that was from October the 1st, 2013. You do the math. Moving along. I was present, and I see the seal of Faressa Grand Anse Limited duly affixed to the within written indenture in the presence of Danny Fakri, a director of the said Faressa Grand Anse Limited, and that the said indenture was at the same time duly delivered by the company. That the name or signature D. Fakri set and subscribed to the said indenture is of the true and proper name, signature and handwriting of the said Faressa Grand Anse Limited. Forgive me for the pronunciations of some of these names, but folks, and these lease and legal documents really do make me tired reading them with all the whereas and the language that most of us find it hard to understand. But I hope I did a good job. I pick out the parts that is pertinent to us as Grenadians. It's, as I said, it's a 17-page document long. It was prepared by the Attorney General, Mr. Cajetan Hood, for the government on Grenada, acting on the government of Grenada, and not prepared, I'm sorry, it was perused by, and it was prepared by the Virtuous Legal Law Firm, the owner, Mrs. Michelle Emmanuel Steele, the wife of the spokesperson on this, and all other documents, all other sale of property and that sort of thing, Comahon and Rex, Mr. Steele, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Tourism, Health, and you name it. It seems as though, but he did say, he had an explanation for that, speaking for everybody. He says they're one united team and they can speak for one another. So let's take that as it is. This was his explanation. Folks, oh God, I'm exhausted. I am totally exhausted. Now, further to that, we have here most recently we have other people speaking up on the Comahon Pact issue. I will take a quick break, catch my breath, and come back.
Dear Father, as I'm on my knees, I pray for the dwellings of this earth, and also my hands. Praying time, days over now, it's praying time. I put my wife and my kids and my friends and my neighbors, they all are feeling fine. Just put the troubles and the worries behind. You can put all your trust in the Father, 'cause I know He's so kind.
Welcome back, listeners. This is the NDC Heartbeat program, the voice of the people in every true sense of the word. And if you have no voice, as we say, you have no power. Now, I am your host, Jenny Simon. We had Senator Sheldon Scott, speaking on the Comahon issue. And let's hear what he had to say. The same clips. Try 1, 2.
or a heritage, that sort of thing. This leads me to Camohon Park. As a senator, the parliamentary secretary with responsibility for information in the Prime Minister's office, what can you tell us about Camohon Park at this stage that would because we seem to be still up in arms as to what really is happening there.
Okay.
And the communication has been out and people still need, what really has the government done, what's the government doing, and what is happening at Camohon Park?
As I've said on this program twice last year, and I'll continue to say, it has not been sold, it has not been given away, it is not given to anyone or so on. There's a proposal that's on the table.
You categorically state that
sold.
Nothing has happened with the land.
It has not been sold, no.
Okay.
A proposal is on the table. Government is looking at the proposal. Of course, a committee, as would have been mentioned by Minister Steele on the post-cabinet press brief a number of weeks ago, a committee has been put together to look at discuss it with the social partners and everything. In fact, at the social partners meeting, it would have been last week, the developers themselves would have come in and made a presentation to the social partners in relation to Camohon Park and in relation to new facilities for the people of Grenada.
Senator Scott, is there a design visual available for the project? So it could be somewhere, let's say around by Riviera area, and people could look at it and understand what is going to happen with Camohon Park?
You see, you're still saying what will happen. What we have on the table is a proposal from the individuals.
So I'm asking.
So there's a proposal. There are drawings that are available now. I think this is the opportune time to ensure that those get out into the general public so persons can see what is there. Now, we've had the first meeting with the social partners. That is where, at the normal social partners meeting, the presentation was made by the developers. The architect came in, he showed them the drawings, he said what the proposal is for 2 different locations on the beach, the improvement to all of the access points on Grandans Beach as well. That's part of the proposal. So that has been put forward to them. Also, the Conference of Churches, they'll be having a meeting with them as well, so that they can see exactly what's going on, and the trade unions. So all of the different organizations will be having an opportunity to meet with the developers for them to explain to them, look, this is the proposal, this is what we are putting forward.
Okay. What are you at liberty to tell us what has been the feedback or responses from the social partners to read the presentation of the proposal by the developers?
I would really prefer that the social partners themselves say that. I would not like to say, look, this is what I perceive their feedback has been.
Right.
I would prefer the social partners come out and say exactly what it is that they think of the proposal that has been put forward. I've been hearing talk of ignore proposal, don't look at it. I think it's important that we do look at it. The possibility of over 800 jobs in total with the completed project. The possibility of increasing our room stock. One of the reasons you have some airlines would not send specifically larger planes to Grenada is because we don't have the room stock. If something happens in another territory and they're unable to leave, do we have the room space even to overnight persons and so on? So we have to increase our room stock.
How about the real and existing situation of 10,000 signatures on a document that says we, the people of Grenada, would like our government to leave the park as is. We don't want to see any change, or we want to know exactly if there's going to be any change. We want to know exactly what's going to be that change. How about that statement? How about that situation?
Well,
is that a consideration as well?
Of course, it's a consideration. We are all Grenadians and we all want to see the best for our country. It's not a situation that when you're voted into government, all of a sudden you're a South African, you're still a Grenadian, and you want to see the best for your country as well. My youngest son, Jamari, and his mom, they were in Camohon Park up to last week. So it's not a situation that any of us would deny the people of Grenada a green space. So there will never be a situation, and let me say it clearly, there will never be a situation where Grenadians do not have a green space on Grandans Beach where they can recreate, where they can relax, where they can go and park in the morning time. For instance, what does Camohon Park offer to Grenadians? It offers parking space, it offers a green space, it offers a recreational area, it offers bathroom facilities, it offers direct access to the beach. None of these will ever be denied the Grenadian people. It can't be denied the Grenadian
It
people.
offers another thing, the ownership and the right to by the Grenadian people.
But you would
they
not
feel that sense of it.
Let me make it clear again. None of what Camohon Park presently offers to the Grenadian people will ever be denied the Grenadian people.
So why did we get to this point then?
I think some persons are playing politics with a particular issue, and they see this particular issue as an issue to create political mileage. I'm saying some persons, not the vast majority of persons who are speaking out on this issue, I think, and I blame myself.
Does the government take any responsibility for what will have happened in the communication of it?
Let me just complete the statement. I take responsibility as Minister for Information for not ensuring that persons had clear, concise information as to what is proposed in relation to Camohon Park. I think many persons, I've spoken to persons on a one-on-one basis, and unlike many other persons who are speaking now, I tend to always be in the area of Camohon Park. I travel on the buses and so on. Persons can tell you they see me on a daily basis, all different parts of the island, traveling on buses and so on, and I speak with persons directly on a one-on-one basis. And
Folks, we're going to cut this rambling for now because we're almost out of time. And I do have a few questions. The people, matter of weeks, sometime after the Carifta Games, the Minister, Pastor, Senator Gawaway would become Minister of Sports. Is it true? The now Minister of Sports was already told of her strippings. Pastor, the question is, did you stab your sister in politics as well as in Christ in the back, or was it face to face? A question to Minister Steele. Is it true that the boss has given Peter David the town of St. George as promised to contest in the next election? And is it true that you are replacing my MP and friend Alexandra Otway Noel in the South? Now, this is where the Queen Show question come in. If yes, what is the status of Miss Noel? And are you happy with that, Minister Steele? Folks, a couple of Sundays ago, I did tell you that they had 3 candidates for 2 constituencies while they're bothering with us and who we have on our executive, right? Apparently, it is now coming to light. Word is that Mr. David was in River yesterday telling the people that he would be the representative for the town of St. George in the coming election. And so the question is it true elections will be sometime this year? Folks, I gotta run. We have many more breaking news. As I said, I know I did not have enough time, but stay tuned and you'll hear coming. Breaking news, more fire. Folks, a better Grenada is possible with the National Democratic Congress. We promise you to take you out of poverty into prosperity. Have a good week. God bless you all. And see you next week, same time, same place, God's will at 12 noon, where we continue with our breaking news. You wouldn't believe what's to come.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are those of the presenters, callers.
Camera will be rolling.
Yeah, and just before we go, as usual, I'd like to thank our sponsors, because without them, none of this can actually happen. Our sponsors include the Grenada Tourism Authority, Netherlands Insurance, Westerhall Rum, Glenelg Natural Spring Water, Port Louis Estates and Mount Cinnamon Hotel, Calavigny Island, Kemper and Nicholson, Lime and Flow, Quinn & Co., Judas Sound, Stage and Lights, of course, WeFM, Duty Free Caribbean, Le Faible, the Marina and the Hotel, Angostura, Grenada Breweries, Republic Bank, Grenada.